Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it's June 14th of 2021. It's almost 7:30 p.m. I just made another change. Uh, as you remember, if you've been watching, there'll be a test given later. I have two desks set up here, and this is desk number one over here, which now is pretty much vacant. I just took the monitor off of here and the computer off of here and moved them over to here. And I disconnected the Dell PC computer that was here, which had Ubuntu on it, and I put it away. So now I have this desk space over here. Let me see if I can show that to you a little bit. It's pretty much vacant. This stuff needs to be moved. I have my cell phone over here, which looks pretty small and pretty naked because if you watched my last video, whatever I talked about, this is a case that was on it. As soon as I got it, well, this case was waiting. And when it came in, I put this case on it. It's one of these rugged, that does sound kind of noisy, doesn't it? Huh. Anyway, I noticed recently, I'm not sure if it was that way from the very beginning or not, but when I made some videos with this, there was a clicking noise. And I tried to figure out what it was. I took the case off, and the clicking noise went away. And I think I uploaded a video saying, "Success!" I put the case back on, tried to make sure I had everything, it clicked in good into the thing, where it snapped in and everything, so there was no space for anything. But with the case on, the clicking returned. So now I'm holding this naked thing. I'm sure I'm going to drop it. So this will be another thing I'll put on my shelf. Never to be used again, I guess. Anyway, I have this desk space over here. I'll be able to do a little bit of stuff with it. Of course, I need to hook up a printer. I have two printers sitting in my room. I have an additional, they're printer scanners too, but I also have a small, inexpensive, cheap scanner that very small. I could put it on here. But over here, I've got two monitors. This is the LG monitor. I have them both at 1080p, although one of them easily works 4K. It's a 4K monitor. My eyes just can't deal with that. So I have both monitors here. I have my Beeline PC with 16 gigabytes of memory in it. I have my Sound Blaster card here to fix a problem with the 3.5 audio jack on the Beeline. I have my speakers hooked up. I don't think that I have any, I have adapters, all kinds of adapters. Okay, I do have a 3.5 or a micro C USB on the front. That's the only thing that's free, but I have a number of adapter devices. In fact, I think they hook into 3.5 or not 3.5, to Type-C USB, and then I have the connectors coming off of it. That would let me, because I just have this is the BIOS, Logitech BIOS USB, but I also have now available this Logitech C920E, I believe it is, and I could hook that up. I think that's going to be my next step here. Of course, one of my steps is going to be that in order to move this stuff around, disconnect everything, hook everything up, over on my bed is everything. The Blue Yeti X microphone is over there. By the way, I'm using the Elgato Wave 3. Somebody mentioned that they really like the Blue Yeti. I guess I could hook that up if you want. Maybe let me know what you think. You know, hook it up in place of this. Oh, I see both of the USB. Hang on a second. Let me bring those things over. We can look at it together. So let me aim this camera the other way. So I'm sitting here without pants on. So. I am back. Okay, there was only one of the USB mini docks laying over there. I don't know where the other one is. And this is what the inside of the box looks like. So there's USB-C. I have a network, which I don't need, of course, for a cable. And I have a number, let's see, wait a minute, where's my light here? It's terrible to get old. That's, oh, display port, that's what that is, PD. So that's a USB-C display port. Okay, let me think here a minute now. Both these monitors are DisplayPort. This one, the LG, is hooked up using DisplayPort, but on my Beeline computer, there's just a DisplayPort and a HDMI. Okay, I gotta get some toilet paper to wipe my nose, so I'm gonna have to move this thing again. Ouch. Pinched my finger. I can use a handkerchief. Here we go. Probably dusty, but I'm gonna have to get out of the chair. I'm back. Okay, assuming this thing works. Okay, I could go in with the USB-C into the B line, and okay, there's no regular display port coming out. No, there it is. Wait a minute. Is that a regular display port? Hang on. Or is that an HDMI? Okay, that's not a display port. Well, I guess I can see what it says. They're nice enough to print on there. Okay, it's UHD, so it's HDMI. Next to it is audio. VGA. Over here are for SD cards. Well, there are two 3.0 USBs. That way I could plug in. I'm not sure on this monitor, my ViewSonic, it has two on the side, 3.0 USB jacks. But I've plugged in a couple of both the cameras, and they're not working with it. Did I fail to plug in the cable out of that monitor? Okay, there's a USB. Okay, there's a USB cable that comes out of the monitor. Did I forget to plug it in here when I was okay. Well, if I plug this in, and if it works, I'll have a couple USB 3s. Actually, it says USB, yeah, 3.0. Micro USB card, SD card, VGA, UHD, audio. Wonder if that would fix the audio problem. Of course, I fixed the audio problem by using a Sound Blaster card. Okay, whoops, I hit the mouse. Not good to hit it with a tactical flashlight. Okay, I wonder what's going to happen. If I plug this in, we're going to crash the this video. Okay, I tell you, I'm going to plug it in. Let's see. I'm going to plug this 3.0 for this iKling. Going to plug it in and see what happens here. If we get disconnected, I'm just going to stop the video and upload it. And well, wait a minute, that should work. Well, where's the settings for that? I'm talking about my light that's up here on top of the yeah, okay, I can't find it. If we get disconnected, then another video will be coming someday. Oops. Oops. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay. That sounded good. Are we still going? Still going, I think. So now I should be able to plug in this. Okay. Now this may disconnect us when I try to access it for OBS. Okay. If we die here, don't worry. I'll be back someday. Please subscribe, by the way. And click the flag. Okay, going to plug in. What is this? Wait a minute. This is... no, that's the UHD monitor. Okay, here we go. Okay. So I wonder if I went to video capture. And if I changed from the Logitech Brio, see if we can change to the other. There it is. Let's try it. There it is. I think we're still connected. Success. So, I guess this is going to work out okay here. Find some place to put it. So many cables. So many cables. So many connectors. Where's my Coke? So I could change the I don't think I'm going to mess with the DisplayPort monitor and the HDMI monitor being plugged into my Beeline, whatever it is. Let me go, in case you're in a similar situation that this looks like this device might work. Looks like it's going to work for me a little bit. Had it a long time. See if I can find it where I purchased it. And in case you're interested in it. By the way, when you come looking for something, please do this. Jim Howard, one word, .me. Then you can, but what I want to do actually, now that I'm here, I want to look for orders. And I want to search for, it's going to be a while though, I don't know if it'll, let's see. Oh, what's it called? Forgot the name of it already. It's not on the box. Oh, it's on the device. iKing. sure that I'm trying to read it. I-K-L-I. There it is. Okay. Okay, I ordered that on March 5th of 2020. Yep, that's it. It's got 4.5 stars, only $35. I wonder, you know, because I don't think it matters. This computer that I have has a problem with the AC jack, audio jack, 3.5 jack audio. It produces noise, constant static noise, bad, big time, major. But I installed a Sound Blaster X something, and it took care of the problem because I'm using that. So I wonder if there would be any advantage to, if this audio would work in place. Why mess with something though it's working? You know, my Sound Blaster thing is working. So anyway, so they're calling this Thunderbolt. That jack that is a Type C. They're calling it Thunder. So they're saying hardware is VGA, Ethernet, HDMI, Thunderbolt. Say it's compatible with Dell, Chromebook, Pixel, MacBook Pro. You know, it says a Thunderbolt 3 to HDMI dock. Expand your MacBook to HDMI able to TV. Okay, I think that probably I'll put a link below to this, and in case that might help out some of you. Okay, there's a newer version here. USB 15.1. Now let's take a look at that in a new tab. USB-C hub 15.1. USB-C docking station to HDMI, VGA, wireless charger, gigabit Ethernet, SD TF card reader, USB-C to 3.5, audio jack, I guess, USB-C docking for MacBook Pro and Type-C devices, Thunderbolt 3. Yeah, okay, I'll put a link to both of these below. And if you see I'm doing something wrong, or if you think I can do something better, in case you're looking at my links up here, during World War II, my mother and father worked building Liberty ships in California, and I worked as a baby. I was just a baby. That was my job. After World War II ended, we returned back to Kansas City, Missouri. My father continued for the rest of his life as a Boilermaker. My mother, she worked retail a few times and ended up going to nursing school, LPN, licensed practical nurse, and that's what she did the rest of her life. I ended up, after I got out of high school and I couldn't get into the Army, I ended up going to welding school, and I went to real estate school first. Then I went to welding school in Cleveland, Ohio, actually Euclid, Ohio, the Lincoln Electric Company, and then I went to work at a wrought iron decorative shop for a very short period of time, and then went to work building railroad cars, and that was, of course, Boilermaker work, shop work, and I worked there exactly 1 year. Anyway, I became a member of my father's union, the Boilermakers Union, and worked some of the, some jobs like that. Went on a job down to Convent, Louisiana, and worked on an oil refinery. And then eventually I worked building trucks, and that was United Auto Workers, so I belonged to that union, etc. And then went off doing a whole bunch of other stuff. But I think it's pretty neat. I have my mother and father's union badge from World War II, Boilermakers thing, and I have my union card together. I don't have anything, I've never had anything hanging on the wall, but I'd like to put those in a little thing, father, mother, son, or whatever, all Boilermakers. When I was in high school, maybe before, I wonder if I can switch back here to this other, well, why risk it? Next time I'll have both the videos, going. My mind was on a track of my father, he was a Boilermaker, a journeyman, in the union for I don't know how many years, but starting at some point, I think before I was even in high school, I think I was in grade school, and my father felt that the local union needed to be changed, that there was a lot of stuff going on that shouldn't be going on, things that could be done better, so he started attending every union meeting every month, and holding the union's feet to the fire to get them to comply with the National Labor Relations Act and the Taft-Hartley Act and stuff like that. And I helped him, and I'm sure I was in grade school to begin with, and then later I mimeographed off. I helped write and mimeograph off stuff that he took to the union meeting to pass out to the members that were there, all types of stuff like that. Eventually my father was elected as one of the members. There was president, vice president, treasurer, and I think sergeant of arms or something. I'm not sure. I can't remember now which post he was elected to. So when he was elected, they had 3 business agents. And so when he was elected to whichever one he was elected to, then he became one of the 3 business agents. And then he traveled over 4 states organizing the union and handling grievances and just doing all types of things for quite a few years. And during that time, up until I got married at age 26, back before the World Wide Web and everything, the government, I forget which it was, National Labor Relations Board or something. Anyway, he had a big, all three of the business agents did, and all across the United States, I'm sure union people had it, and then of course I'm sure management had it too, to see what was going on with the National Labor Relations Board. But it was a big book, and the pages. So what I would do when and it was almost every week, when rulings happened or whatever, they would send out the new information, and I would take out the old information and read it and throw it away, and then for my father I would put in the new information and tell him, hey, new information came is in the thing. So during all the time that I was a welder, I was a union member of different, Boilermakers and United Auto Workers. And I got married. My wife had a tropical fish shop for 4 years, and I worked there. We had a patrol service for a year or so. I worked for the post office for a month or two. Told them to take the job and shove it. I can't remember all the stuff I've done. But then when in 1972, well, before that, for a few years I was working security. And then in 1972 I got hired into hospital security, and then I spent 30 years working hospital security. And for the first time, before I was just a welder, and I did my job. And but when I went to work hospital security, there were a lot of things that I disapproved of, and I had no problem at all letting management know that I disapproved. And I had no problem letting the director of security, the person in charge of the security department, that I had problems. There was a problem with racism and all types of things, and maybe all those years of helping my father made me kind of a badass or whatever. Because I've mentioned this before in the past in some videos. Nowadays, I'm not saying don't fight for your rights. I'm definitely saying join a union if you can, and start a union and do things to get unions back in the position that they should be. But don't do what I did now, because the environment, I think, has changed. The unions are not as strong as they used to be, and the government is not as strong as it should be in the areas of labor protection and that type of stuff. So, a person needs a job, and so. But I am going to be doing a video, maybe more than one, on this subject, and on doing grievances, or doing going through the procedure that your place of work has one. And of course the hospitals did not have unions, but I made some major changes, major fights against racism, and other, of rights. And at the first hospital I worked at, a Catholic hospital, there was just 10 security officers there. And I've talked about that. We had a security officer shot in the line of duty. And I told the hospital administrator, because we did, I told him, you need to get a gate up across here so that nobody can come in from the church lot and into this parking lot here, because there's where Dan Stagel was shot. And I said, here's what you need to do. You need to put the gate there, you need to get bulletproof vests for us, and you need to sit down and talk with us so that this doesn't happen again. It will happen again if you don't take some actions. Maybe next time it'll be a doctor or a member of, the nursing staff, or an inpatient, or a visitor, or who knows who it'll be. Less than a year later, John Galegas was shot in the parking lot. Same time, both of them were shot at, 9:15 p.m., but at different times. John Galegas managed to shoot the other guy, and the other guy managed to jump a fence and collapsed. But John Galegas was also, they both shot at the same time. John Galegas was hit. He was hit in the chest. If he'd had a bulletproof vest, in my opinion, all he would have had would have been a bruise. And so anyway, when the hospital administrator came in that morning, I said, there's John Galegas' blood in the parking lot. Now are you going to, now are you going to do something? And he said, no, no, Jim. Well, wait a minute, maybe I'll buy you guys a horse. And he went in the hospital. And I sent every doctor on the medical staff there as they pulled into the parking lot that morning. I sent every one of them, and every one of them went. I told them why I was sending them there, and they said, I'll take care of it, or I'll buy the bulletproof vest, how much do they cost, or what, each one had a sort of a different answer, but they all went to the hospital administrators. And about an hour later, the assistant administrator, I'd never seen him ever come out when the hospital administrator was there, because he followed him around with his nose in his ass. He came out, acted like he was going to his car, oh, Jim, I guess I don't need to go to my car. Oh, by the way, we're going to get bulletproof vests for you. We're going to put a gate up across there, blah, blah, blah. So it took him a little while to probably convince the nuns to come up with the money for the bulletproof vest. Of course, probably some doctor. I don't know what went on, except I knew my name had been circled in red, I'm sure. But I stuck around, and at that hospital was in such a bad neighborhood that security never did anything except security work. We didn't jumpstart cars. We didn't do anything except security work. And we never left the hospital except, to drive across the street to a filling station to gas up the Cushman scooter or whatever. But I did leave the hospital. They sent me to law enforcement equipment company to pick up bulletproof vest and whatever, and I brought those back. And they put a gate up because that's where the guy came that shot John Galegas too. But then I went and hired in at another hospital because I knew that they would be looking, the hospital administrator would be looking to get me for something, and they could always get you for something. So I went over to another hospital. Unfortunately for that director of security, who was extremely racist, I sort of liked him in a way. Actually, now I have figured out, I couldn't understand the guy. He was smart and extremely racist, and he lied about stuff. Why would he lie about all this? I couldn't figure that out. Anyway, now after we've experienced Donald Trump and the things that have been talked about, his illness and his problems, that's what this director of security also had. It's the very same thing. And now I recognize, you know, I see the very same things, all of them, except Donald Trump I don't think was ever smart. This guy was, you know, smart. But I had to do 4 grievances there. I mean, I just couldn't. And I think I'll probably talk about those grievances, what they were on, and how, you know. And he was wrong 100% of the time, and he lost 100% of the time. And finally it was all set up, and he was sort of instrumental in it. I was like, after 5.5 years, I just said, you know, I don't want to be supervisor anymore. You're driving me fucking crazy, Mr. Ross. I've just got to do something else. And he said, what else do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. But I just can't take you anymore. And actually we sort of had him on, when I did my 4th grievance, we sort of had him like on, not officially, but it was like we had him on suicide watch. His office was on the 6th floor, and when I did my 4th grievance, he came in for like a week and went, which was not like him. I mean, you know, he came in, went to his office, closed his door, and we didn't see him. You know, so for his good and for my good. But anyway, I was all set to quit, and he said, what are you interested in? I said, well, computers, which was unusual back then for anybody to, you know, computers and electronics, always have been. And he said, what about the biomed department here at the hospital? And I said, well, I don't have a degree in, you know, I'm not an electronic technician. I haven't been to, you know. And he said, well, go over and see the guy that's, you know, in charge of the biomed department, the guy that runs it. He says, go over and see him. And he said, you know, I'll recommend you. And he said, anyway, he knows you, you know. I went over, and the guy interviewed me, and I told him the truth and everything. And he said, no, Jim, I want to hire you. You know, you can have, you know, as soon as we get an opening, and there's 3 or 4 guys in our biomed department that are looking for better jobs. And he said, we need you, and especially for your computer experience, you know, and he explained what they needed and everything. And so it was set up with the director of security and with the director of human resources. When I got my merit review and everything, it said as soon as there's an opening in the biomed department, Jim will be transferring over into the biomed department. It would have been more money, and I'd have been away from the director of security and everything. But you know, I couldn't take it when in the morning when the head of the biomed department would come in. I'd say, any opening? He says, Jim, they're, you know, hang on. I said, I don't think I can hang on. And I couldn't. So, and then the next hospital I went to, and I told myself, I'm just not going to get involved. But I couldn't help it. The next hospital I went to work for Radio Shack for a short period of time, manager trainee. Anyway, and I turned down several jobs with a small police department all the time. They were growing, and every time there was an opening, they'd ask if I wanted it. I thought I couldn't afford it, you know. And then the next hospital I went to work at, the director of security was even more racist than the previous director of security, and it was horrendous. Everything that he did, the stuff that he did was not right. And I've mentioned this before. I think what happened is, I think he had in his desk drawer probably a couple envelopes, and one was do not hire, and the other one was hire. And he undoubtedly would have known. I know that he did, because I was in the office, well, where I worked previously, you know, director of security, I was going by his office. That's the guy I had to get away from, you know. And I was, Jim, come in, come in. And he said, Bill Gilmer from Research Medical Center called me, and did you put an application in over there? And I said, I sure did. I can't stand you much longer. And then he said something, and I said, Mr. Ross, if you could get a better job, making more money, closer to home, you'd take it. This is the same thing. That's half the distance here. It's a little more money, and I'd be away from you. He said, yeah, you're right. He said, no, I'm going to call Bill Gilmer now. And I said, okay, I'll leave. No, don't. And I said, let me leave, Mr. Ross. No, stay. So he calls him up, and so, Bill, this is Bob. You called me the other day. Then he goes, well, no, Jim Howard's not a suck-ass, no, he's not. And, well, yeah, he did grievances over here, 4 of them, yeah, well, half of the department, agrees with him, and half of the department agrees with me. Yeah, he's a good man, and then he gets off, and then he said, Mr. Ross, and he wasn't trying to be funny. Mr. Ross says, there, Jim, I fixed you up, and I said, there's no way that guy's going to hire me after you told him that half of the department, and actually it would be the entire department, everybody in the hospital, department heads and everything were against this director of security because of his Trump stuff. This was before Trump, but still, his problem, the way he was. But I did end up going to work, but I think that director of security over there must have had me written down, do not hire under, and put it in, he must have put it in the wrong envelope because he called, and I knew because of that call, I decided I don't want to work there. But I was a reserve officer with this one police department, and the chief of police or whatever had been on the police department with this, because he was on the Kansas City, Missouri police. But I was ignoring it because I had a telephone answering machine, and he was calling saying, Jim, I got an opening for you, and I never answered him back. And then I go into Raymore PD to do my day or whatever, and the chief says, Jim, Bill Gilmer's been trying to get hold of you. He wants to give you a job. And I said, I don't want to work there. Well, give him a call. And I said, I don't want to give him a call, And so I gave him a call, and he told me, so he had me mixed up, And he needed to hire me because there was a guy a nursing supervisor, one of the nurses that ran the hospital, She wanted her husband hired in. And so he had to find somebody with better credentials than this guy had, and I did have, better credentials. And so anyway, I hired in. That was a mistake. But anyway, I spent 18 years working, that hospital. But during that time, I did. As soon as I got hired in, I didn't do anything. But as soon as I got hired in, somehow he must have realized he got the wrong name. But he was, you'd have thought that I was Jack the Ripper or something working. He was out to get me. Anyway, I did 2 grievances there and lost the first one. And the second one, I won. And the way it was at that point, that hospital had, I don't know how many thousands of employees. And nurses, for something came up at the hospital. And the nurses, a bunch of them, they wanted to change something. They wanted to do a grievance. And they didn't know how to do it. And they were, how do we do a grievance? What do we do? I was working midnight shift at that point, and somebody said, there's somebody here in the hospital of these thousands of employees who's actually done a grievance. And, well, who is he, you know? I think they were thinking, oh, he must be in the legal department, or maybe he's in the, and they said, oh, one of the guards. What? Anyway, the nurses contacted me, and I gave them a few pointers or whatever. But, anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, click the little bell so you get a notice when I do upload a new video. Thank you very much for watching.